Hi, and welcome to the It's Just Business podcast with myself, Richard Price. In this podcast, I interview some of the best business minds and entrepreneurs, diving deep into their business journey to get those valuable business lessons they have learned for entrepreneurs like you to succeed on your business journey. So listen up, listen in, let's begin. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another fantastic episode of It's Just Business. It's myself, Richard, again, alongside some special guests. Today, I'm joined by Chris Kong and Elin Roberts. Welcome.
Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
So Chris and Elin are the co-founders of Better Nature Foods. And I guess to start off with, tell us a bit more about Better Foods.
Cool. Shall I start? So at Better Nature, we make protein without compromise. So all natural meat alternatives that are just as delicious as they are nutritious. And we do this using tempeh. So tempeh is a plant-based protein originating in Indonesia that's made through fermenting cooked soybeans together. And what's so great about tempeh is that it's super high in protein, it's high in fiber, it's high in lots of different micronutrients. And it's really just not very well known. So along with one of our co-founders, Ando, who's Indonesian, has been eating tempeh since he was a baby, we kind of realized that there was amazing potential to use this food to create meat alternatives that kind of fix, I guess, some of the issues that we have in society today, which is food not being very sustainable, not being very nutritious, and that's what basically we've done. So up until this point, we've created quite a natural tempeh range, and we're currently working on creating I guess more sort of exciting meat alternatives using tempeh. So we've got some really exciting products coming out in May, including some barbecue ribs and kebab strips and smoky rashers, all tempeh based, all natural, packed with protein and fiber, and absolutely delicious. So yeah, that's a bit about us and what we're here to do.
Wow, you're making me hungry already. Oh, lucky I had my dinner before the show. So Chris, Elin, tell us a bit about yourself and, some background. What sort of brings you to the world of food and protein?
Yeah, I guess I can go. So Ellen and I, we actually met at uni. So I studied biochemistry at university. Literally have no, I guess, relation to business, but I've always been intrigued about the relationship between business and science, and I guess was driven by a fundamental desire to bring about some positive impact in the world. Just didn't really know how at that time when I was about 18 or 19, but that was, I guess, kind of the end goal. And Ellen, at the time, if I can speak for her, was studying psychology and was a super passionate vegan. And coming from, I guess, an all-boys boarding school, I've got two brothers myself. Being vegan never crossed my mind, ever, before university. So meeting Ellen for the first time, who I think is literally the first vegan I've ever met, was kind of mind-blowing. I was like, who is this crazy person saying that you can't eat meat? But as, I sort of did more reading around the subject, I started challenging my own, I guess, habits and beliefs about meat and nutrition and the food I was eating. I basically realized, largely with the help of Ellen, that our food system as it currently stands is broken. It's hugely problematic. Not only is it responsible for 17% of all greenhouse gas emissions, it's also responsible for basically all deforestation, which is obviously responsible for biodiversity collapse and the extinction of countless species of amazing animals, and also responsible for huge societal health problems, from diabetes to stroke to coronary heart disease, which in totality is responsible for the greatest number of deaths, regardless of geography. So when I realized that, I obviously stopped eating meat, started adopting more of a plant-based diet, went vegetarian first, and then about 2 years ago went vegan. And when I met Amadeus, who we mentioned earlier, who at that time was doing his PhD on tempeh fermentation and told me all about tempeh and how it's widely consumed in Indonesia, just how delicious and nutritious it was, I couldn't help but sort of try it myself and fell in love. It was something that, I could incorporate into almost every single meal, every single day, and not feel bad about eating it so often, unlike perhaps some other meat-free products that you can typically find on supermarket shelves. But it was also incredibly hard to find. So I thought, wow, what if we were to create a business around this product to celebrate its diversity, its amazing nutritional qualities, and in doing so, be able to help solve some of these problems. So to really just tick all the boxes, and for me at least, that's why I co-founded Better Nature.
It's really strong. Elin, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I guess I came at it a slightly different angle than Chris, because I studied psychology at uni. So I've always been really interested in sort of societal change and how we can sort of encourage people to make positive changes, whether for themselves or for the wider society, including the environment, other people, animals, and how we can do that in a way that's sort of positive and empowering. And I think that was something, as Chris said, that I was vegan when I was at university, which was quite an out there choice at the time because it wasn't that common back then. And I think it was really important to me trying to find a way of educating people, but in like a way where they felt sort of supported and seen and not sort of patronized or put down. And I think that for me was really important after I left uni, is I wanted to find a way in which I could kind of spread the word, but in a positive way, in a way that people would actually want to listen. And I think, working with food is the perfect way to do that, because people love food, they love tasty food, and they also really love healthy food. And if you can bring that together in a way that's it's better for people, the planet, and animals as well, then that's great. And so that's what's been so amazing about Better Nature for me, is I've been able to, I guess, channel all the sort of frustrations I have with the world, which I think everyone does in many ways, into something really positive, and hopefully something that inspires people to make, even if it's just small changes to their diet, whether it's adopting, a plant-based protein instead of meat 1 or 2 meals a week or whatever. I think that's an amazing thing. And as Chris said, the impact on the environment, on people, is huge. And if we can just encourage people to make those changes, we can create a much better world for everyone. So I think that's definitely what kind of drove me to found Better Nature with Chris and the others.
That's great. I really love the fact that it's a very strong, like mission-driven, company. Like, it's a business with a good, strong mission for the betterment of society, humans, and health. Right? It's that in itself is a strong message and a strong thing to sort of drive you and push you through. So, and it's definitely the way things are going. You have the likes of Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods and all these sort of, in the aisles now, you have all of these meat alternative, meat alternatives are just growing in the aisle. You might see it in one little, compartment, and then it's just, ever growing. So people are definitely more conscious out there in what they're eating and consuming. So tell us a bit more about how you guys sort of started this. What was the first steps? How did you, I think you launched in 2018, I believe.
Yeah, so we incorporated, I guess, towards the end of 2018, but didn't really sort of land on Better Nature as it is today until I'd say about April 2019. And so initially it was just myself and Amadeus, but we very quickly realized that two scientists aren't best placed to create a food business. So very quickly started looking for other people that could join. And as I knew Elin from university, and not only did she basically veganize me, she also veganized basically my entire college. I couldn't really dream of anyone better to head up our marketing. So Elin came on board, and Fabio as well. So Fabio is our head of product and operations, and he sort of stumbled across Tempeh on his travels in Indonesia. And at that time, he was doing his master's in food science and human nutrition. So he understood a lot about obviously food and how it impacted people, and was very passionate around product development. He himself is Italian, so food is like so
Second
central to
nature.
his
Yeah.
exactly to his identity. And he just randomly reached out to Amadeus, who also runs a charity called the Indonesian Tempeh Movement, which is all about trying to, I guess, make tempeh sexy in Indonesia. Because one of the really, I guess, sad truths about tempeh is that in Indonesia it is seen as this street food, and
Right.
it's seen as this food for the impoverished, um, because it's so humble, because it's just so natural. It doesn't draw the same, I guess, the same excitement as beef would, or pork, right? For the non-Muslim population in Indonesia. So as Indonesia's sort of economic standing climbed, their perception of Western diets obviously became much more. Western diets became much more perceived to be much more nutritious and more valuable, and unfortunately, the local cuisines sort of, um, I guess, became less popular, right?
Yeah.
So he created, yeah. So long story short, he created this charity. So this, charitable organization, this NGO, to try and elevate the profile of tempeh. And Fabio stumbled across that organization, reached out to Ando, and naturally Ando put him in contact with me. And yeah, there was this crazy Italian guy who's just absolutely fanatical about food and tempeh, and was incredibly talented around product development. It was just the perfect fit. So it started out with just us four. And yeah, trying to bring a food product to the market is not a simple task. There's a lot of hurdles that need to be overcome. But I think what really put us in great stead was that we had four individuals that were, far from being masters in their respective fields. I literally just graduated from uni, so like literally, far from being masters, but at the very least had the desire to be one day masters, and had proven themselves to be able to learn very, very quickly, and were people that were guided by this unwavering commitment to the greater purpose that you mentioned earlier. So I guess that was kind of the secret sauce. And from there, we raised our first round of investment, from friends and family. We grew the team a little bit more. We found partners that were willing to take a bet on us, to actually produce our products. And yeah, I guess the rest is history. But that's my take on it. Elin, would you like to add?
Yeah, it's not too much to add really, but I think, yeah, as Chris said, I think at the start, all we had really was basically a knowledge that tempeh is amazing and that we knew that it just wasn't celebrated enough. It wasn't even really known in the UK at all. Like I remember before I actually met Ando, I'd only tried tempeh about once, I think once, and I had it in a restaurant and it wasn't cooked very well. And I was like, what is this? I'm not sure I'm a fan. And then I spoke to Chris and Ando, and Chris had just been to Indonesia and he was like, no, tempeh is incredible. You have to try it again, give it another go. So I was like, okay, fine. I tried it again, actually cooked properly this time, and then actually tried it again in Indonesia. And I was like, wow, this is an actual game changer. And to be fair, that's the reaction we get from people all the time, just when they actually know how to cook with it and know, yeah, what it goes with, what it should taste like. But yeah, we kind of knew that we were onto something really special there and something that no one else was really looking at. And also Ando, who we mentioned, he actually was doing a PhD on tempeh fermentation. He's actually one of the few people in the world that's now got a PhD in tempeh. So we also knew that we had sort of the skill set within the team to really work on tempeh in a way that no one else could. So I think for us, that was always what guided us, as well as obviously the mission to create something that was better for people, the planet, and animals. And as Chris said, we kind of started out not necessarily having the greatest skill set in the world, but we knew that we could, we had something amazing, and that if we worked hard enough, we could, do something really special with it, which I think is what drove us forward. to where we are today, and hopefully we'll be down the line.
And to add on to that, like I think our diverse skill sets also really helped, because there was very from the get go, there was a very clear, I guess, division of labor, right? And everyone had very clear sort of roles and responsibilities within the business. So we weren't stepping on each other's toes. We gave each other, I guess, the freedom to explore our own respective domains as freely as possible. So I guess, yeah, the better nature you see today is really just the amalgamation of, or initially four, but now we now got a team of 11 people. It's just an amalgamation of 11 people's, I guess, yeah, desires and vision for the business.
So you wasn't all fighting for the CEO hat type thing. It was like, okay, you're good at marketing, you could do that. It's great. You're actually an expert, so you just work on making food great or making tempeh great. So just kind of talk me through the product development side of things. So how did you launch? What was your first sort of target? How did you sort of boil that down into what's going to be your first product launch?
Yeah. I guess, yeah, that's sort of like my role within the business. I can talk about this. Basically, from the get-go, we wanted to test the market as soon as we could, right? We didn't necessarily have the most robust sales route to market strategy. And to be fair, when we launched in January 2020, the whole world sort of went upside down March. So even if we had the most like developed and the most clear route to market laid out, it would have been irrelevant anyway. But for us, it was an imperative that we actually tested the market and got consumer feedback to see if tempeh was something that the UK consumer was as excited about as we were. And in doing that, we basically worked with existing partners that did make tempeh, but in different parts of the world, and worked with them to, I guess, bring their products to the UK. We obviously, added our own brand and our own twist on the products ourselves. But that was how we started. And
Right.
it works really, really well. And I guess, even before we launched formally, we were always going to different trade shows. So even before we had anything to actually properly sell, we'd bring I don't know, maybe 100 units of each SKU to these vegan and vegetarian sort of centric oriented trade shows, and got people to taste the food. We'd have pre-cooked samples that Ed and I would be up till 2 a.m. the night before, sort of cooking in our own kitchens, and waking up at 6 to bring them to these trade shows. But from that experience, and running all sorts of surveys, we got a much greater idea as to what price we should be landing these products at, what flavor profiles people liked, what things, and yeah, we just got a very, very good understanding of the market.
And things that we also needed to know, that people needed to know in order to be able to enjoy tempeh. As I said before, it's a brand new food, and that brings, great opportunity, but also great challenges, because people didn't know how to cook with it. And, a lot of the time they wouldn't even know, do I cook it? Do I not cook it? What kind of meals does it go with? And I think that was really important for us to actually ask people, what is the information you need? How can we make this easier for you to adopt this new food? And that was, really, really invaluable, especially kind of launching at the start of last year, and just being able to really consider what the needs of the customer are and how we can really cater to that.
What did you actually find then? So I think you do pre-packed, cooked, packs of tempeh, right? Is that born out of your research? You thought, okay, people don't really know how to cook with it. Best we just do it as self-serve, or done for you kind of product.
Yeah, exactly. We find that there's a real variety of customers. So people that know what tempeh is, kind of similar to what Chris was saying earlier, people that know what tempeh is and love tempeh just literally just want to get tempeh wherever they can get their hands on it, because it's really, really hard to find tempeh at the moment. And so when they find that we have this online shop, or we're selling at a local shop, our tempeh, they get really excited and just want either plain tempeh or lupin bean tempeh, which is basically tempeh made with lupin beans, not soybeans. But then we find that that is quite a small subsection of customers, and others are just looking for things that are a bit easier for them to easier to cook, easier to know what to cook with, for example. And that's definitely what made us decide to bring out our marinated range. So we kind of originally launched with our more plain tempeh range, which also did include some tempeh rashers, which have been by far our most popular product. And then, yeah, that's one of what pushed us to launch the marinated products that are ready to eat. Actually, you can eat them straight out of the pack, or you can cook them in a pan and within about 2 minutes, or pop them in the microwave and they're ready to go. And we found that that has really helped break down those barriers that people had when first cooking with tempeh. And so that's definitely the direction that we know we need to go into more when we're trying to get to the mainstream. So currently our audience is the more sort of health conscious, vegan friendly people. But down the line, of course, when we get into, more the bigger retailers, we want to launch with more, appeal to more a flexitarian audience, particularly health conscious flexitarians. And in order to do that, we know that people aren't necessarily going to want to spend hours researching what tempeh is and how to cook with it. We need to make it as easy as possible for them to really know how to cook with it, what to cook it with, and how to kind of have the best experience with it. So that's why we're moving much more towards these marinated products, which is definitely driven by what we've kind of had. We get feedback from customers after purchase, and that's definitely what people are asking for.
That's great. That makes so much sense. It sounds like you guys are really on the ball, trying to, break the barriers and as you mentioned earlier, the existing beliefs of tempeh. And essentially, it's, as you say, it's absolute new, taste for people, in their palate. You need to kind of frame it in a way on what they already know. So if it's like barbecue tempeh, or if it's like, Houtin sauce tempeh or something like that, something, related to something that they already existingly know and in their taste buds, they hear a name and they're like, okay, barbecue sauce. I know what barbecue sauce tastes like. It must be, similar things. So.
Exactly. And I think that's been one of the challenges, is that we're within the team, we're so passionate about tempeh because we just think it's amazing, in terms of its health benefits, its benefits for the environment, that it is just so delicious. But it's been really important for us to kind of put that aside and think, what is it that the customer actually cares about? And truth be told, is most customers, unfortunately for us, don't necessarily care that something's tempeh, but they do care that something is really nutritious and it's really delicious. So it's like, how can we make our products really cater to those customer needs rather than maybe what we have in mind? And I think that's something that has been a bit of a challenge at times, to kind of remind ourselves and each other that what we're so excited about isn't necessarily what the customer is excited about. And we always have to consider, what is the research telling us, what is feedback telling us, and really be guided by that rather than our own, ideals about tempeh.
Always listen to the customer, as we say.
Exactly.
So 2020, it was a interesting year, to say the least. And what a year to launch, or officially. How did you approach, your launch? I think, are you predominantly e-commerce, online sales at the moment? And in the midst of the lockdown, how are you fulfilling orders if you were still running?
Yeah. So we absolutely, we ran throughout the lockdown, and we actually saw some of our best months, in 2020 during the initial phases of the lockdown, in around like April, May time. But for us, the most important thing is to have a one-to-one connection with the customer, because we knew that Better Nature 1.0 is not the final product, and that as long as we're receptive to customer feedback, we can always improve the product, we can always improve our offering, and we'll always be better day after day after day. So for us, having that online store was super important, because it gave us the opportunity to interact with our customers on a very intimate level. But truth be told, being a chilled meat-free brand and trying to sell online does have a lot of its own challenges. How do you get chilled products to customers? How do you make customers happy to buy products that could expire right within 3 weeks time, and expect them to put down, say, 20 pounds in order to qualify for free shipping? There are a lot of sort of hurdles that need to be overcome, and we try our very, very best to meet those hurdles. but we still felt it was super important to have that direct to consumer sort of connection from the get-go. So we actually launched, when we launched in January, we launched direct to consumer, as well as also, I think, with one retail wholesaler. And from there, we just scaled our e-commerce. We launched onto Amazon, which was really, really big for us. And we started partnering and launching, based on that success, the early success that we had with that first distributor that actually took a chance with us. We managed to secure 2, 3, 4, 5, and now 6 wholesalers that are helping us distribute our products to about 200 retail stores across the country. And also obviously we're able to funnel a lot of our, a lot of our gross margin, a lot of our profit from those sales back into further digital marketing activity to drive further online sales. But I think, in 2021, our focus is now somewhat shifting in a way, shifting, not changing, to, I guess, focusing on that retail channel, on that brick and mortar channel, because as a early stage, new brand, we can't expect the vast majority of customers to have the faith to put down, say, £20 and buy 3 weeks worth of products in one go. We want to be available in the places that people are most comfortable shopping, whether it's online or offline. And we want to just have, just be able to give people the opportunity to try our products without necessarily committing, say £20. Instead just commit £3 or £2.50 to give us a go. So this year is definitely all about that retail expansion.
What's your average sort of product price, out of interest?
Yeah, so at the moment I'd say it's about £3.29.
Okay.
But as we mentioned earlier, we're about to launch a very, very exciting new range of products that's all about trying to be far more accessible in formats and flavors that are way more intuitive and way more delicious. Those products will probably have an average price of about £2.75, £2.70.
Right. So really is a kind of either it's in a multi-pack where you do have that sort of £12 sort of ticket price and delivery can be included, or £20, or it is something ideally that you can just pick up and put it into your basket as you're walking around Whole Foods, which I imagine you should probably, hopefully you'll be, entering those type of buildings, this year.
Exactly.
So in terms of your best month, what did sort of how did that feel and what did that look like for you?
Yeah, I guess another question for me, but from at least from a sales and business development perspective, it was super exciting. And like when the lockdown first happened, and I guess somewhat fortunately for us because of our early direct to consumer focus, we went from like 4K per month revenue in March or April to like 12K the next month. So we literally tripled sales in a month's time, which was crazy, and it was still early days. Like these aren't big numbers, but I really felt like we were on that hockey stick, or and it was really positive. It was a really strong affirmation that what we were doing was absolutely what consumers are looking for, the products that we're producing, and especially with COVID making health really putting health at the forefront of everyone's consciousness. I think that positions Better Nature, I guess, it really, really well, because we're all about producing, just authentically and brutally healthy, as well as also brutally delicious meat-free products. Maybe brutally is not the right word, but I mean,
yeah, we definitely we won't go with brutally. But I guess with us as well, our best month actually so far has been January of this year. So that was an amazing month for us. We were quite blown away really by how great it was. which I guess, makes sense. Veganuary has become really, really popular, and we knew it was going to be a really big one this year. There's a lot of hype around it. And as Chris said, being a sort of direct to consumer brand, especially with, a new lockdown in place, we knew that we were quite well positioned to really kind of serve people, great tasting and really nutritious foods. And we worked on some partnerships as well around that time to really try and get our name out there, which worked really well. So yeah, it's been really exciting. I think we've had lots of new customers. Yeah, just try our products and get excited about what we're doing, and hopefully that's momentum we can bring forward into the rest of 2021 for sure.
Yeah, I mean, to add on to what Elin said, January was huge, and to really add some context to it, it was 70% higher. Sales in January was 70% higher than really any other month we've ever had up until that point, and was more than 1.5 times that of, or no, sorry, more than 2.5 times that of our December sales, the month before. So it was like kind of like earth-shattering for us. And but as you mentioned, like I think with any sort of direct consumer, or really any brand, that momentum has carried on since. So through our online store, for example, it really does vary depending on how aggressively we're acquiring new customers. But we can have a average returning customer rate of anywhere between 40 to 55%. So we saw a lot of those customers come back to our store in February to buy from us, which is awesome. And now in March, we're on track for another knockout month, even greater than that of our January sales. And I think success begets more success as our brand becomes better known, as our products are stocked in more retailers. More retailers want to get, I guess, hop on the bandwagon, and that momentum just builds and builds and builds. So our intention is to hopefully by the end of this year be listed in some retailers that households will know, like whether it's Tesco's or Sainsbury's or Waitrose.
Okay, that sounds amazing. I think it's clearly a strong signal from your customers that it's you got product market fit. It's what they want, and if they're coming back, it's even a stronger signal. I must say your website and your branding is really strong. Who's that to who should I be bowing to? Yeah.
That's very kind. Thank you. Yeah, we worked with an agency actually quite early in 2019 to kind of come up with the original idea for the brand. So you'll see our little super beans, as we call them, jumping around. That's all thanks to them. And then from that from that initial idea, we've just been building it up since then. I think it's sort of taken a little while to really finesse it, I guess, in terms of messaging and strategy, in terms of visual design. We have an amazing in-house designer called Ursha, who is a bit of a magician when it comes to brand and design, and it's just an amazing job. So we're just trying to have fun with it really, and trying to create something a bit different and memorable that people will get excited about. And actually we read some research recently that a lot of meat-free kind of brands don't particularly appeal to like parents and kids, and that's something that we feel actually we can do, and we're doing it quite well. We actually did some research recently with some families and got feedback that apparently all the kids were really excited about our brand and really wanted their parents to buy the products for them. So I think it's nice to do something different, and we're having a lot of fun with it, and hopefully we get great feedback. So it seems to be resonating, which is brilliant.
That's great. No, it is really strong and very clear aesthetically, and what your brand is about. The messaging is very, very, very clear, as I say. So in terms of marketing sort of strategies, what do you guys focus on? How do you look about acquiring customers, getting out there? It's always difficult at first, but it sounds like you've got good momentum.
Yeah, I think as you say, can be quite tricky at first when you kind of really are trying to get to know your customer and what are they interested in, for example. And so we actually work with a company called Proquo, which is like a brand management platform, and they run research basically on our customers, so users of our brand and also non-users of our brand. And we found that really, really helpful, because that really helps to guide us in what we do and what we're kind of aiming for. It's taken a while, building data to understand what are the areas that we really feel we can excel in. And I think for us, it's especially in things like integrity. We try to really lead the way in that and do what we feel is right. And we definitely don't shy away from things. We're quite brave and bold, and that's something that maybe isn't quite so common in the space, but it's something that people are really resonating with, we found on the platform. On top of that as well, of course, being sort of people that are health conscious and fitness conscious, that's been a really big, key thing for us. And that's something that really attracts the audiences to us. So I think it's just been about really listening and trying to understand what is it that people are looking for, and reading a lot, I guess, of like industry-wide research. So, reading what are the trends in the market, what's working well, what's not working so well, and then also really listening to our customers and trying to build from that. And so I guess our strategies, it's always a bit of a work in progress, which I think is probably, I think we finally kind of got there now, and I feel quite confident now as we're moving into the next stage of the business, which hopefully is expanding to a wider audience, and going into those bigger retailers. I feel confident we've kind of got to a stage which really works for that audience, but I think it does take time. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think you do learn a lot, especially in the first couple of years, and the best thing you can do is not have too much sort of ego about it and think, or even be like, oh gosh, we've created, the amount of times I've gone, oh my gosh, we've created collateral with this on it, but actually now we're changing it, and it's just such a pain. But I think, sometimes you just have to accept that some things are going to have to be pushed aside for something better, and it's always has to be guided again by the customer and what the market needs and what the market's looking for, not necessarily what you want. And of course, it has to be, some of it has to be what you want. Of course, as we said earlier, our mission for the business is very, very clear, and we're not going to budge on that. But at the same time, how we position that and how we show that customer benefit has to be driven by the customer and not ourselves. So for us, we do it in sort of lots of different ways. We really try and cover a lot of different channels, I guess, when it comes to our marketing. So we have a really big sort of newsletter list. That's something that we like a mailing list, and we send out a monthly newsletter, which does really, really well. The stats are well above industry average. We do digital advertising, which we find that's especially good for people that are sort of Google ads, especially. We find are very effective because obviously it's people that are closer to that conversion. They're people that are already sort of searching for something around that, and then going over the line is not so difficult then. Social ads is a little bit harder because people aren't necessarily looking for buying at least 20 pounds of a chilled meat alternative. And as Chris said, there are barriers in place there that can make that conversion a bit trickier.
Yeah.
But that's something we really try and overcome in the ads themselves. On our web design, that's really important for us, and figuring out how exactly we can get those key messages across and really help people overcome those barriers. We go to, when we can, events, and that's something we're really looking forward to getting back to, because as Chris said earlier as well, that's a really great way for us to get feedback and to meet people and to have those conversations. They also can be hyper targeted. So, we can go to like a vegan event, or we can go to a fitness event, or we can go to a foodie event, and we can really look at those sort of subsections of our audience and understand them better and know how we can really target our messages to them. And then beyond that, we kind of do things, we do quite a bit of PR, like press features as well, again really looking at those sub audiences. We do brand partnerships, which is a great way of obviously getting the audiences of other brands and working together, with like-minded people, which is brilliant. So we've done like a pizza collaboration with One Planet Pizza, for example. We're looking at some other collaborations at the moment. Just trying to really be driven by what people are looking for, and what our different audience groups are, and how they might be changing as well, because as we said, we are changing our product range quite a lot at the moment. And it'll be quite different in a few months, so that's also something we need to keep in mind, and how we can make sure that we're really adapting our brand to suit that, and making sure that the people we're targeting are the people that are going to be interested in the products we have. So basically, long story short, it's a work in progress all the time. But I think that's a big part of it. It's just listening and learning and adapting. But I feel like our brand essence is definitely, I think, pretty much there now. And then it'll just be about finessing messaging going forward.
Yeah. No, it sounds very, very strong, very strong. And the buzzword that we use is omni-channel. You're coming from all angles, and
for sure.
I can only imagine there's probably a lot of passionate people in the vegan world. Actually, I know that there is. So, as long as you tap onto that passion of theirs and trying to, enlighten the world, then, you are part of that message. And I'm sure they'll hold you dear to their heart.
Yes, for sure. And I think for us as well, sorry, just adding on that, I think as well as for us, we really want to try and, as much as we love that vegan audience, it's also about getting beyond that vegan audience and getting, flexitarians, especially as well, to kind of get that excitement. I think that's something that we found can be a bit of a challenge for vegan brands. But if you can do that, for example, a good example is like Oatly, for example, which although we're a totally vegan brand and actually a very passionate vegan brand, has really managed to appeal to that flexitarian audience, then you can do amazing things. So I think for us, it's about, of course, celebrating the fact that we are all plant-based, but also making sure that we're sort of accessible, inclusive, and appealing to a wider audience as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I liken myself to a flexitarian, although I don't band the name around too much.
Yeah, I don't think it's people self-identify as that, but for us statisticians, I think it's a really helpful word. So, and there's a lot out there, 25 million in the UK alone, apparently. So you're not alone at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. I should create a meetup group next month. See who comes. So your monthly newsletter, that sounds really good. Could you tell us a tiny bit more about that? Because I think those are really good sort of key touch points that businesses have with customers that sometimes people miss and don't get right. So
yeah, of course. Yeah. So we kind of early on decided that having, I guess, a close-knit community was really important to us. And we thought our mailing list is a great way to do that, to keep people kind of updated, of course, on what we're up to, and to drive them as well to our online shop. So actually our newsletter has the highest conversion rate in terms of purchases. So we've looked at that, and it's ridiculously high. So it's a great channel for us to kind of, I guess, pop in as a little monthly reminder that we're here, what we're up to, and make people feel like they're a part of our journey, and then of course want to support us as well. So yeah, I think it's about really making it seem quite natural for us. We don't want to be really salesy. We don't want to come into someone's inbox, once a month and be sort of, shoving everything we're doing down their throat and then being like, buy from us now. It's all about making them, giving added value. And I think that's something that we kind of have read a lot before starting the newsletter. But yeah, it's about what would arrive in our audience's inbox once a month and actually genuinely bring a smile to their face. And so that's why we have sort of an intro section, which is all about what we've been up to and trying to word it in a really sort of fun and light way, but also make it quite informative, because these are people that are interested in what we're doing and may want a bit more of that, I guess, a bit more of a deep dive into what we're up to and maybe a bit of a hint about what's coming in the future, so they feel like they're part of something special. And then we also have some sections where, it's like a top tip for the month, top recipe for the month, and like what you can do to kind of live life without compromise, as we say, so without compromising on people, the planet, and animals. And yeah, we get really, really good feedback for it. So I think our average open rate's about, it does vary month to month, but it's about 35%, and our click rate's usually 5% plus. So yeah, it's a pretty good going. And yeah, it just drives great results for us. So I think what's also important for us is the fact that it's consistent. I think a newsletter is always a great idea in theory, but actually getting one written, designed and sent out once a month it actually is a lot more work than people realize.
Yeah,
it is. So being really quite like strict with that, I think, has been really good, because people, seem to look forward to it, seem to kind of spend quite a decent time reading it and clicking through all the links and stuff that we share. So yeah, it's been a great channel for us, and something that maybe when you're starting out, it's something that's a bit like, oh, is it really going to be that effective? I think people have sort of glorified paid ads quite a lot, which, I mean, they definitely have their purpose and they're great, but a really strong newsletter, it's a totally free form of advertising that can actually be so much more effective. And it has been, I would say, probably for us. So yeah, it's been really great.
Great. Yeah, I love that. 35% is probably industry best, to say the least. Amazing. Now, before I go on I want to touch on your seeders round and next round of sort of financing, crowdfunding. Are you producing the products, or are you creating the products in the UK, or are they being imported in and you're repackaging them?
Yeah. So when we were looking for, I guess, production partners that we could potentially work with, unfortunately, there just weren't many that were based in the UK that fit our specifications, that experience with tempeh, for example. So we currently import, I guess, all of our products from partners in Belgium and in the Netherlands. So, but I guess moving forward, it would be within our interest to bring that within the UK. But I think first and foremost, it's all about making sure that our products are the highest quality, um, and products that are genuinely made sustainably and ethically as well. So that for us, that is I guess, the first and most important probably stage gate.
We do all our MPD in the UK though. So our MPD team is in the UK, but they just work with partners in those countries. So yeah, I think ideally for them, we'd be able to kind of go there more. But unfortunately with COVID, it's made that a bit more challenging. But I think that's the case for everyone.
Of course. And enlighten me, what does NPD mean?
Oh, sorry. New product development.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, one thing that we also really focused on from day one is to make sure that the highest added value components of the business were all in house, right? Because I think the food industry is moving towards a place where it's becoming far more digital, right? It's becoming far more agile. In the past, where every brand needed their own, like, I don't know, manufacturing capacity, I think now manufacturers are a lot more open-minded. They're a lot more, I guess, open to working with new upstart brands. So really, the manufacturing capacity isn't any longer the most, I guess, the most valuable asset that a brand could have. Instead, it is the brand. Instead, it's the product know-how. It's the product development. It's the R&D. So from the get-go, that's all we focused on, and just tried to find the best partners that could come in and fill in the gaps of actually delivering, producing the end products.
That's great. That makes sense. You focus on your core competence, and as you say, you work on the highest value adding tasks, and if that's sort of wrapping up and branding and getting the messaging out, absolutely, that's where a lot of companies are coming from, especially with, like, for example, SaaS businesses. Do you build it or do you buy it? And in many ways it makes sense to buy it as opposed to build it. Even though that's not to say that you're not creating your own products, but you're just not, it's a capex that you don't really need, capital expenditures.
Yes, exactly. And I think, I mean, coming as head of BD and coming into the food business, before I started Better Nature, I was the head of BD for another, I guess, tech startup, and I'd done a lot of reading around how to scale a tech business, read Blitzscaling, for example. I read Hoffman and The Hard Thing About Hard Things and all your classic startup textbooks, right? So sort of tried my very best to apply a lot of those learnings to the food industry, right? So I guess that's probably one common narrative around our sales strategy and our business development strategy. It's very, test and iterate, test and iterate, test and, it's all about ensuring that we have that one-to-one connection with the customer, focusing on direct to consumer, even though it may not necessarily be the highest volume long-term play, but the value that you get from that customer feedback is absolutely invaluable. So yeah, in a way, I feel there are some threads of a tech business that we sort of baked into the way we approach problem solving and customer relationship management within Better Nature.
Yeah, you really do sound like the lean food startup, so yeah, give you that badge. So moving on to sort of your exciting sort of crowdfunding round, can you just talk us through the why you decided to do that, why it's the right time, what you're looking to achieve, and just give us a bit of info on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So for us, diversity and inclusion, I mean, beyond making protein without compromise, which is what we're all about from a product perspective, as a business, and largely championed by Elin. So I shouldn't be stealing her thunder. I mean, Elin, do you want to talk about this part?
So last year, with the help of the amazing Vanessa Bello, who's a diversity inclusion specialist, we created a belonging framework. So she uses an amazing analogy, which I'm probably going to botch up saying now, but I think it's something like diversity is being invited to the party, inclusion is being asked to dance, and belonging is the DJ putting on your favorite music, which I think is just a really lovely analogy. So I think the original part is by oh gosh, I'm going to forget the name now. I'm going to totally forget the name. But anyway, by someone else, and then she added the last part. But yeah, it was just a really great analogy that helped us really think about how we do things at Better Nature and how, yeah, just how accessible we can be. And I think the business world in general, even being like a female founder, I find it at times it can be quite challenging. You go into a room and it's literally it's very, very male dominated, for example. And we have a lot of people of color on the team as well. And I think there's a lot of ways in which, yeah, the world, the business world especially just isn't made for people like that. I like that. It's made very much, it's very dominated by white men, unfortunately. And so for us, it's really important that we're conscious of that and we really try and find ways and to make the business world more inclusive. And so for us, one small way in which we do that is kind of how we get investment. And so I know Chris, which he can speak maybe a bit more about, has made a really conscious effort of trying to speak to a really diverse range of investors. So we do have some female investors, which is great and surprisingly rare. And we have some investors of color as well, which is brilliant. And something else that we felt we could do to really diversify the people that can hopefully benefit from Better Nature's success is crowdfunding. And although obviously just a very small thing and there's a lot of other things we can do which we are working on, we still felt like it was a really nice thing to do. Obviously it's great for us to raise more investment, but also it's just nice to be able to include more people in what we're doing and to open up that business world to a wider range of people, and especially friends and family for us as well. It's really special to be able to help let them be involved in the journey, and also of course they help us in return, which is brilliant. So it was kind of, I guess, quite a difficult decision at first because it's quite a time-intensive process, which I think we've maybe learned throughout. We did speak to some people beforehand, and they did kind of warn us about this, so we were aware. But yeah, you probably aren't. I don't think people are quite ready for how time-intensive it is, but it is also very rewarding, and I think it's actually really helped us kind of finesse what we do as a business as well, because you've got to create like a crowdfunding video, you've got to really kind of get your pitch spot on, which of course we have to do for investment generally. But I think when you're thinking about, you're speaking to, in some cases, just everyday people that maybe aren't going to know much about investment, not going to know much about business and what they should be looking for, you need to really be able to articulate what is it that you offer to people. How are you actually going to make them feel good about investing in you? How are you going to make them feel confident about investing in you? And that's actually been, although at times quite challenging, it's actually been a really valuable exercise for us. So on the whole, definitely been a great experience. And I mean, we haven't even opened the round yet, so we'll see how that goes. But it's been just a great way in which we can open Better Nature to more people and just get more diverse voices, I guess, in our journey.
Exactly. And yeah, if I can add to Elin, like, as part of the belonging framework, we host, I guess, what we call belonging sessions within Better Nature, where every month anyone has the opportunity to talk about a matter that is really important to them, whether it's disability, or whether it's about mental health in the workplace, or the wealth gap. So we had someone recommend some reading around the wealth gap, and I was just taken aback, right? Like, and primarily, I guess the wealth gap it is such in the way it is, especially the racial inequality, right? Or the wealth gap with regards to white people and black people is because for hundreds of years, black people didn't have the ability to hold equity. Right? They weren't able to save and to invest the capital, whether it was in property or in other small businesses. They never had that ability. So not to say that, like, with our Cedar's raise, we're going to, to upend the entire financial system, but in our small way, we hope to redistribute, I guess, the wealth that hopefully Better Nature will accrue and the value that Better Nature will accrue back to the everyday people, right? Rather than basically investors or angel investors with big tickets being the only ones able to reap the rewards. And that's not to say that crowdfunding is 100% of the round. You know, we're super fortunate to have an amazing VC, Extension Ventures, lead our round, investing out of a Good Food Fund, which is an amazing social impact fund. It was a perfect fit. And yeah, so having them lead the round is amazing. But as we had the opportunity to open the round to far more people from far more diverse backgrounds, to really galvanize our community as well, that have been backing us from day one, we thought it was a great fit. And in terms of timing, we've seen sales increase 14-fold within the last 12 months. We filed 3 patents within the last 3 months, last year as well. You know, we are we are also a food tech business. Beyond just being a brand, we do all of our R&D in house as well. We just launched with Mindful Chef, which has been huge for us. You know, we've got our products going to 8,000 different households this month alone. So yeah, just building upon that momentum, it just felt like a really good idea to capitalize on that, launch this crowdfund, hopefully get a lot more people to become aware of the brand, to back us, and to hopefully catalyze even more growth down the line.
That's great. Yeah. No, I think that makes absolute sense, especially for a B2C company or business. You know, getting, you know, Monzo done it, you know, I don't know if Revolut done it, but you kind of want your customers to be your advocates and you know, and beat the drum. And also, yeah, as you say, you know, open up to other, you know, those that may not have access to venture capitalists or, you know, want to just put down £100 just to see, you know, if they can be a part of the journey and the success. So that's a great thing. Was Accession Ventures, did they back you before? Is this the first round that they've come in on?
Yeah, so this is the first round they've come in on.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, we up to this date we haven't taken any VC investment. So it's I guess, yeah, a slightly daunting, but also really exciting phase of the business that we're entering into. Hopefully, you know, with Extension and their experience in backing some of the UK's best startups, we're just very excited about, at the very least, the level of governance they can bring in and discipline as well. Their know-how about how to scale fast-growing businesses, and of course, the network to help us perhaps speak to other investors that can help us on our journey as we continue to grow.
I guess, you know, with this round of funding, you'll be able to grow a lot faster, a lot broader. What is in store for Better Nature of 2021 and beyond?
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, it's all about launching this new range. So as I said, we're launching that in May, and we're really hoping, so yeah, this more sort of intuitive range that's going to be, you know, easy for people to understand what we're about, kind of similar to what you said earlier. I think when you pair something that people don't know, you need, you know, when you have something that people don't know, you need to pair it with something that they know. And that's why, you know, things like our ribs and our rashers and our kebab strips, we're hoping are really going to help educate people about, you know, this amazing way that you can eat without compromise, you know, without compromising on taste or nutrition, you know, through tempeh. And so for us, you know, really, yeah, tapping into that broad flexitarian audience and getting into those larger retailers, which I know especially Chris is working hard on, is going to be, you know, a great way for us to, yeah, really prove that we know what we're doing, and that we know there's a really clear demand for these amazing products. So that's a big focus for us over the next few months. And then, yeah, I think beyond that, it's just about continuing to grow that and continuing to establish ourselves as a really, you know, like a mainstream brand would definitely be that would be the dream. Probably take a few years, but that's the plan, is to really not make meat-free foods feel like something that's too, you know, too strange or too different, and something that people really, you know, embrace and really enjoy. Because, you know, we're not here to make people feel bad, or we're not here to make people, you know, feel like they have to miss out. It's about how people can really enjoy, you know, healthy, delicious foods, and, you know, that they can eat every day and feel great. And that's the amazing thing about tempeh, is it's also fermented, so it's great for the gut, and so it really does just make you feel great. And we think that the more people that try it, the more they'll just want to eat tempeh all the time like us. So that's the plan.
For breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yep. For sure.
I think I might have to have one of those tempeh, month diets, and see how that goes.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm way ahead of you, Richard.
Oh, yeah.
I've literally been eating tempeh like every single day for, I don't know, at least the last year, I'd say. I mean, the days that I don't eat tempeh, I realize just how much I miss it. And I guess I
Wow.
am somewhat biased because I've got basically, I've got tempeh on tap, kind of. But yeah, I've seen amazing improvements in like my like just the way I feel, my physical performance as well. We briefly mentioned before the call that I run marathons and was able to basically PB all sorts of distances, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fuel that I'm giving my body to recover and to excel physically.
Right. So you guys essentially got the secret sauce, right? That the world needs to know about. So
For sure.
great.
Yeah.
That's the
idea. Before we wrap up, I wanted to ask you, what 3 tools do you use that you would sort of absolutely miss if it disappeared tomorrow for your business?
3 tools. I think Elin and I will probably have very different answers. So for me, I'd say the first tool is, and this is, I mean, we're just plugging like other SaaS businesses at this point, right? Or like, do you just mean sort of SaaS tools, or just generally tools?
Zoom, Slack. What do you use that's critical to your business you would miss?
Yeah, I'd sort of spin it and not just say sort of like SaaS tools, but also just like habits, right?
Sure.
So for me, I think first and foremost is frequent exercise. Like I'm not much of a, so I try and exercise at least 5 times a week. When I can. Obviously some weeks are a little bit more hectic and I can't. But I think some form of physical activity, whether it's even as gentle as a walk, right, is just so important in getting that clarity, in being able to distance yourself from your work, and to contextualize some of your problems in the greater context of the universe, which will make your problems sort of like, will just evaporate your problems, right? And I think having that perspective allows you to tackle these problems way more effectively, because you're no longer drowned by the anxiety of or with the madness of the day to day, right? You can sort of take a step back and have a much more reasoned sort of approach, mindset to tackling some of these problems. So for me, exercise is how I do that. Other people get it through meditation, but I just can't sit down for more than an hour. So meditation just doesn't work. But yeah, exercise first and foremost. 2, I'd say, is a tool that I love called Monday.com. I'm pretty sure everyone listening to this podcast has probably heard about it. I mean, there's also all sorts of other tools, and I haven't used some other ones like Asana or whatever, but I read this book, which I'd recommend anyone read, is it's Getting Things Done, right? I can't remember exactly who it's written by, but it's called Getting Things Done, and it's basically this like seminal piece of work on productivity. And sort of the second line behind the title is Getting Things Done, How to Live a Stress-Free Productive Life, right? And that stress-free element, especially as a young business owner, and in the very early days, doing like 100 different things that are completely, I guess, outside your comfort zone because you never approached them was super important. And having a tool that basically tells me basically what to do every single day, and a tool that I can constantly update as soon as new tasks come in, and not have to hold them in my head and worry about forgetting about them, and being reminded as to when these new tasks need to be done is super, super helpful. And I'd say the third tool is, just having, just listening and being receptive to feedback, and just constantly looking for feedback, from whether it's from your customers, from your team members, from potential investors, whether to say yes or no. Just always ask them why, and don't take everything on board because I think there's some people give really, really bad advice out there. But do ask, and if it makes sense, right, and trust your gut and take that on board and iterate and try and strive to be a better version of yourself, or strive to make your business a better version of itself tomorrow than it was today. I'd say those are my 3 tools.
Just to add to that, I think following what you said, originally, I have to say I'm just obsessed with Slack. I think it just makes life so much easier. I notice when I'm trying to work with people that aren't on our Slack, I just end up like losing my mind because I'm just like, why is it like I just want to be able to speak to you directly? So I've ended up like anytime I work with someone, I just tend to like add them as a guest on our Slack because it just makes life so much easier. So I'm a huge fan of Slack and all the sort of everything that comes with it and the apps that come with it, which is great. Speaking of that, we actually have signed up to an amazing app called Spill, which basically provides free mental health care to employees. And that I think has been really, really big for us. And it literally just slots into your Slack, and checks in with your employees. And if they want any support, whether it's like asking a therapist a question or organizing a one-off session or even organizing a series of sessions, they can do that completely through Slack. And that's been brilliant. We've had such good feedback from that from the team. So of course we pay for it, but it's very, very affordable. You pay for it like on a monthly basis, and they do it in just a really accessible way. And I think that for me, individually, but also for the rest of the team, has been really important in just really demonstrating that we care about mental health. And I think the better people feel in themselves, the better they'll be with each other, and the better, the team and the business will do generally. So that's also been really big, for us. And then another really maybe more boring one, but I just also think just G Suite is amazing because it's great to have everything on the drive. I love the fact, when people send me like Word documents or PowerPoints, I'm like, no, I can't. Like, how do I like track, edits on this? How do I send it to someone else? So for me, I just think, that just makes my life so much easier, so much more efficient. For me, I'd say those are the 3 key tools that I really rely on, and I think have really helped our sort of general productivity and happiness as a team.
That's great. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Slack as well. I think it's amazing. Great. All right. So, guys, everyone, really thank you so much for joining us, Chris and Elin. I think you guys are on something really amazing, and you're going to be a great UK success story. I can feel it. Great power team, and I can't wait to try some Tempeh. I'm going to get involved. Before we go, where can people find you, and where should people look out for better?
We've got our website, which is betternaturefoods.co. So we've got an online shop on there, as well as lots more information about us, as well as our crowdfunding raise if anyone's interested. And then also check us out on Instagram, betternature_. We've got all our updates on there, and we'd love to meet as many of you as we can on there as well.
Super. Well, Chris, Elin, thank you very much for joining, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Richard.